everybody.
Hello, my name is Simon.
Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to meet you here today in the European Parliament.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lena.
Zdravo.
Good morning, everyone.
Dear delegates, teachers from all over Europe, this is Estonia speaking.
Portugal and the Portuguese believe in the Union, a union of all European countries bound together by the values of democracy, freedom, social democracy and social mobility.
Que peut-on dire, sachant que notre pays...
We have to say that our country is going to leave the European Union. This will mean that we'll be in a state of uncertainty. So we feel that the actions of Donald Trump could also have a major impact on the UK, and it could affect all our futures.
The European Union is our future, our big sister, and we have to take care of it. We have to search for solutions and not for problems. We have to fight for our rights, keep our standards high, and keep in mind that nothing can stop us.
We have a dream, just like Martin Luther King.
We also share the same aim, to walk down the same lane.
Despite our differences, we understand the fences.
We step on the same land. Finally, we understand.
We are one.
C'est mon troisième mandat. Les mandats sont des mandats évidemment électifs.
That is my elected mandate. So we are directly elected by the Parliament. We're not appointed. We are elected by our citizens. And so this is the third term of office as a French member within the European Parliament. And I have to say that I used to sit in the Budgets Committee because I had wanted to be in the Budgets Committee so that I could have an overall view, a bird's eye view of European policies and the money which is spent on them, and to be able to contribute to the building of Europe. But as a lawyer, I decided in my second term of office, I decided to be a member of the Freedoms Committee and Home Affairs and Justice Committee.
It's about robotics and its participation in the development and what consequences it could have on the occupation. And as far as occupation is concerned, robotics could have some negative consequences on that. And how could we do something to balance that?
Comme dans toutes les choses,
things are never black or white. I mean, not just black or white. So there are some aspects which have to be studied, and I've worked with the trade unions and the workers on that, and I'll continue to do so. And when you do this, you see that where you put in a robot, the traditional robot, automated process. And so you can see that the very tiring tasks are people which, which are very exhausting for people, are carried out by these robots. So I'm not talking about the highly sophisticated ones, which of course need human guidance, but this does make it possible for some people who are interested to progress in their chosen field and to acquire further knowledge, young people. When I saw the robot, I mean, there's the first generation of robots, and they just make it possible for people to do more interesting jobs. Things which were on the production chain and on the conveyor belt. That's what robots can do, and so they might have frees them to do the more interesting jobs which require a bit of mind and a bit of mind input, and not just do repetitive jobs. Well, that of course is considerable progress. So the second generation robots, well, it's the same. You can see that if you go into a factory, you can see that they're no longer so protected because they're so sophisticated that if you touch it, or if you even go towards it, it just changes its position. They're like humanoids, really. They're humanoid robots, so they kind of recoil. They move away. So in order to be used in order to work, they need human intelligence and human brain and hand. And they explained to me for about half an hour what the advantage of this particular system was, and that there was they had to have school leaving qualifications. That is, they had to have school leaving plus 2 years of training to be able to operate these robots. So, you know, in the 19th century, people thought that progress was dangerous. But if we look at the age of enlightenment, we've got to be able to be in control of these changes to enable men and women, I mean women as well, I'm not when I say to progress and to increase their possibilities for work. This is how I see things anyway. If we were thinking of trying to stop this progress, then it's got to be some kind of backup to it. There's got to be some accompaniment with it. But we would not necessarily be going ahead. We'd be drawing back. That's not a good idea. Thank you very much.
My name is Bence Barto. I'm from Hungary. What should be done if an EU member state breaches the principles of freedom of expression, gender equality, or data protection? So what is your opinion on this question, your opinion on the current procedures, any improvements and the likes?
Je distingue bien, vraiment, si...
I do make a distinction. That is democracy. If the Hungarian people gave a mandate to its representatives for a certain amount of time to take decisions on their behalf, this is something which we cannot challenge. I have nothing to say about that. I am not Hungarian, and I can say nothing about that. But since there was a decision to be part of the European family, and if certain values have been ascribed to and subscribed to, which need to be respected in terms of the law, then these values must be respected. That is, the European Commission. The European Commission is the guardian of the treaties, as it's called. That is, its main job is to make sure that the member states respect the provisions which they signed up to. I think that you're referring to the government's announcement yesterday, Orban government yesterday, to systematically detain people who are asylum seekers and might be granted refugee status according to the law, the rules of international law. And so this decision has given rise to more than a debate. The decision actually is counter. It tramples underfoot the decisions made by the European Union once accession has taken place. So this is a decision which is going to be discussed in the European Parliament in this very hemicycle, and there will be, it's not a question of compassion or it's not a matter of infighting. There are two answers. Either the states which fail to respect the rules to which they have signed up have to change their position, and perhaps this will be done, or the state, if it doesn't feel it can deal with this, has to take the measures which are required. Well, it's pretty, radical, but that's a legal situation.
I just wanted to ask, what is your opinion once the UK leaves the European Union as to what the future relationship between the EU and the UK should be? What's your opinion on that? Thank you.
On va entrer en négociation.
We're going to start negotiations. For European Parliament, for the European side, the negotiation will be led by someone, by Guy Verhofstadt, who's Belgian, who's profoundly European, a federalist, speaks many languages, but particularly he's very European. He was also a Prime Minister of Belgium in the past, and he will negotiate Brexit on behalf of European Parliament, the hemicycle where you find yourself. And Michel Barnier will represent the chief negotiator for the European Commission. And they will start negotiation, these two persons, with the British side. What will what will be the effect? Well, it will take a long, long time. There are hundreds and hundreds of agreements that will have to be reviewed in all sectors and bilaterally, United Kingdom with Canada, with the United States, etc., because they will no longer be in the European fold. So they will have to conclude bilateral agreements with these other countries. That's all I can say. We, the other Europeans, were going to carry on working with the Brits, but not on the basis of the same rules. The Brits will no longer be around the table when we take a decision here at the EU, neither in Parliament nor in Commission. So it will be something entirely different. I regret the departure of the United Kingdom, but I think we shouldn't dilly-dally a lot, because the Europeans have other fish to fry, and we need to consolidate our position. We have to move forward, accelerate, and we will carry on trading with the United Kingdom. At any rate, with regard to defense, United Kingdom and France are the ones who work together with regard to defense. So we should be in a position to defend ourselves, and also the changes that will intervene in NATO, since President Trump wants to change things there too. And France has asked that the agency for drugs, which is in London, should be moved to France. But we will certainly travel to this wonderful country. We'll carry on as we used to.
We thought about not eating as much meat, because we know that the meat production uses up a lot of CO2 and methane gas as well. And we also think that it's important in the media, in the schools, on the radio, in the social media, Instagram and so on, to talk again and again and provide explanations about green energies, and also to give people ideas about this. Perhaps people could, win a prize to try to incentivize people to use green energy. And another point as well, trying to use just simply recyclable packaging material. That were the points put forward by our group. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you all.
I would like to ask if you can explain further the thing about meat and not eating meat, and how you are going to promote that in our society. Thank you.
Also gerade über dieses Thema mit dem Fleisch.
Yes, this question about meat eating, this was one of the points that we discussed at length, at greatest length. In meat production, of course, there's a very high production of CO2. It starts with, with production of butter, with the transport of the animals coming to supermarket, and there's a lot of CO2 too, which is used, CO2, and also a lot of methane. And so we thought this could be decreased by eating less meat, but also it could have local entrepreneurs, local slaughterhouses.
The first question was, is freedom of expression inviolable? In other words, can a government restrict it? There was a definite majority, and the answer is that yes, it is inviolable, and no, a government can't restrict it. Because freedom of expression is the basis of a true democracy. Without it, we cannot speak of a democracy if people can't say their opinion. And that's the main reason of freedom of expression is a criticism of the government. If I don't like what the government is doing, I have the right to speak up against it. And it's a very dangerous precedent if we start restricting the right to criticize the government. And then there's another similar question we voted on, but a bit broader. Is it acceptable to restrict human rights when security is at risk? The answer was again a definite no from the majority, because as I stated earlier, human rights are fundamental to a working democracy, and human beings don't like their rights being restricted. So we might be even willing to brave the risk that it offers instead of restricting our basic fundamental rights. Even if we do restrict our rights, we must ensure that a balance remains and that these restrictions are in definite favor of our security.
As Europeans, as part of the European Union, we always are so proud of saying that we are for humanitarianism and we are for democracy, and we want to ensure basic human rights and to our citizens and others, and make sure that everyone gets to live a life where they can live in basic human dignity. And so what we concluded was that it would seem kind of hypocritical to then say that we are not responsible for other countries less fortunate than us. And this led to the second question. In a case of economic or political crisis, should we cut back funds from these third world countries? Now, it's important to know that the European Union currently provides about half of the funds to developing countries from first world countries. And the majority of the people voted saying that no, we should not. Again, because when we are talking about ensuring basic human rights and being for humanitarianism, we cannot let ourselves let other people from around the world starve or live in horrible circumstances. And for a final point, saying what can we do? Obviously, money came up. We have to financially support these countries. But other than that, our main goal is to improve the economy, because no country can prosper without a stable economy. And a key step to this is education. These countries need people that they can rely on. The economy stands of people, and consequently, we need educated people to have a good economy.
So we have 7 big proposals. They are very broad. So the first one is about reducing the bureaucracy of the Union to improve the effectiveness and the speed of the decisions of the European Union. Then, in the European Council today, it is needed 28 states to approve a resolution. And we want to reduce this number for 21, so we can, again, improve the effectiveness and the speed of the resolutions we want to pass. It's important for us to delegate regulations to state level, so we can make the EU a political decider of big matters and leave the minor ones to each state. We want a more democratic EU, and so we think that the people should have more power. How? That's something we want a consensus. For that, we have to open a debate that involves all institutions from the state level to the union's institutions. A strong democracy is needed. We have also to prioritize education. Education must be a priority. For many reasons, like, for example, avoiding racism and xenophobia. It's necessary also that the schools provide free food, free transportation, and free books to all students. The EU must have a strong diplomatic voice in the world. This is a priority also. And one of the first objectives should be to improve the relations with all our neighbors. It's necessary to the EU to have one single voice. And the last proposal consists of having more precaution with the loans that we give to the EU members. Before giving the loans, we need to try to find the problem and to fix it, to avoid another loans and decrease corruption in our state members. Thank you very much.
European Union faces one of the hardest, toughest period ever. We have bad relations with Turkey and the migration problem. Every year, European Union must greet and take in millions of refugees. We make bad deals with Erdogan, president of Turkey, instead of investing money into refugee camps near Mediterranean Sea. Committee Migration and Integration report is: to manage migration flows in the European Union, we need better external borders control. We need to invest money and manpower into Frontex, which keeps EU external borders safe. At the moment, it is not compulsory. We need to educate refugees, for example, culture and language lectures. Refugees must be sent to local schools to meet European people. Integration would be more effective and better. Quotas should be based on population. All the member states must be involved. Bigger countries must take in the majority. If EU member states don't want to take in any refugee, it must give humanitarian help. For example, food, clothes, equipment, so on. No sanctions.
The solutions to this problem, as we discussed, the first would be unpaid internships, along with an online portal to see all available internships so you can try and get some employment experience. This, hopefully, will lead the young to getting jobs themselves with relevant experience. Next would be internships mandatory, that's not really a word, compulsory at school, along with work skill classes. This would combine the knowledge of how the workplace works and real-life skills, along, again, as stated previously, with experience gained through the workplace. This, hopefully, would lead to young people getting jobs. Next on the list would be to either restart or extend the European Union's Youth Guarantee Scheme, wherein under 25s not in education or full-time employment would be guaranteed a job or further education after, I believe, 4 months of unemployment. Next would be tax breaks for those that work unpopular jobs, should we say. For example, countries that lack employees in certain industries, such as the UK with doctors, people that decided to train up and work those jobs would receive tax breaks until the required number of people to work that industry is reached. This hopefully would act as a guide for people as what industries they should work in if they want to help their country, and in addition, it would be a benefit for those that do want to help their country. Thank you.